London. Valentine's Day had a famous West End club, an occasion when fashion pulled at the heartstrings of a star-studded gathering who had come to further the work of the National Association of Boys Clubs.
15 places from the 1970s that no longer exist. The era that followed World War II brought unthinkable economic growth and prosperity to the United States. This era lasted till the early 1970s, allowing new businesses to open and existing ones to grow. Then, the 1970s saw the opening of many new restaurants and exciting theme parks. However, as is the rule of things, nothing lasts forever. Many iconic and beloved theme parks, restaurants, and nightclubs from this era have now faded into history. In this video, we will look at 15 places from the 1970s that were once alive with fun and adventurous people, but today no longer exist. Let's get started. Number 1. Lincoln Park. Lincoln Park was opened in 1894 by the Union Street Railway. The Comet, a wooden roller coaster, was the most famous attraction and the reason for the park's eventual closure. The park was quite a success and people loved the thrill of the Comet. However, following a chain of technical failures, the safety of the ride and the park was put into question. One man died in 1964, while several others were injured in a separate incident that involved the derailing of one of the carts. The final nail in the coffin came in 1987 when braking failed in one of the carts, causing it to jackknife. This was the final ride of the Comet. The park faced low visitors due to safety concerns and was eventually closed. 2. Old Chicago.
Don't you want to be in a play?
I want to go to Old Chicago.
I want to go to Old Chicago. I want to go on the ride.
The holidays are great fun at Old Chicago. Exciting rides and attractions you can enjoy indoors for one low price and a special lineup of live shows.
Opened in 1975, this was the first ever fully enclosed amusement park and shopping mall. The park was designed to host huge crowds all year because its activities were not affected by rain or other unpleasant weather. The attractions included a Ferris wheel, 3 roller coasters, and a big mall. However, poor management and financial losses became the norm. Construction cost overruns and competition in the area made it difficult for Old Chicago to compete. Efforts were made to keep the park afloat. However, in 1980, after 5 years of operation, the park was closed, and the building was demolished in 1986. Number 3. The World of Sid and Marty Krofft.
It's the first indoor, high-rise world of fantasy and family fun. The world of Sid and Marty Krofft.
This amusement park was designed based on various children's shows produced by the siblings, Sid and Marty Krofft. This amusement park was completely indoors and included carousels and pinball machine-themed dark rides. The building had different floors with unique activities. There was a performance stage, and most artists came from Los Angeles to put on a show. However, the variety of activities was never enough to draw any crowd to the building, and the park was closed just 6 months after its opening. The founders blamed the urban decay and housing projects, which made people question the safety of the park. Number 4. Jungle Habitat. Jungle Habitat opened in 1972 and had a drive-through and walk-through part. The drive-through provided a safari experience with over 1,500 animals, including peacocks, elephants, llamas, and many more. However, the walk-through included a petting zoo, gift shops, camel and elephant rides, and even a snack bar. People could get pictures taken with live performances and mascots of famous Warner Brothers characters like Daffy Duck and Roadrunner. A failed vote for expansion, high competition, and poor management led to the park's closure in 1976. The land and animals were sold to buyers, and the building was left to decay. Number 5. Studio 54. Studio 54 was a nightclub that originally opened under the name of Gallo Opera House in 1927. It served as a broadcast studio for CBS, and after bankruptcy, it became New York Theater. In 1977, Schrager and Rubel converted it into a nightclub. The nightclub was an instant hit, bringing in an average of 2,000 people every night. In its first year, the club generated a whopping $7 million. The owner was quoted saying that only the mafia made more money than them. The club was infamous for the over-the-top parties and rampant use of club drugs. The club also faced several issues with liquor licenses. However, the owner was accused of tax evasion and pleaded guilty in 1979. The club was eventually closed in 1980. 6. Palisades Amusement Park. This park was established in 1898 and stayed operational till 1971. It grew in popularity under 3 ownerships but became most successful under the ownership of the Rosenthal brothers. Some incidents of segregation based on color and some fatal incidents made people somewhat weary of this place. However, Palisades Amusement Park grew in popularity so much that it ran out of parking spaces, and locals started complaining about the traffic jams, litter, noise, and changing color demographics. The developers then pressured the court to rezone the park for high-rise buildings because of its amazing view of Manhattan. 7. Disney's River Country. Opened in 1976, Disney's first water park used real lake water and a rustic design. Instead of using pavement, this theme park was comprised mostly of sandy ground. The water park grew in popularity when it appeared in a 1977 Disney musical number called River Country. Sadly, an 11-year-old child died, contracting an amoeba infection from the water, while 2 other kids drowned. But this wasn't the reason for its closure. Disney opened 2 more theme parks with more amenities, parking space, and thrilling adventures. Thus, River Country was indefinitely closed in 2001, and permanent closure was announced in 2005. Number 8. The Electric Circus. The Electric Circus was a spectacle in every sense of the word. It invited people with interesting publicity like play games, dress as you like, dance, sit, think, tune in, and turn on. It also used light shows, music, and circus performers to keep the people engaged and provide a wild experience. The club underwent management changes in 1966, hosted several experimental bands, and provided opportunities for artists to showcase their talent. However, in 1970, a bomb was planted on its stage by the Black Panther Party, which injured 15 people, and the negative publicity sent the club on its downward trajectory. The club was eventually shut down in 1971. 9. Pontiac Silverdome. The Silverdome opened in 1975 and was home to the Detroit Lions and several other teams over the years. It had a fiberglass fabric roof, which was the first of its kind for an athletic venue. Over the years, the venue hosted high-profile events like the NBA All-Star Game and concerts. However, the opening of Ford Field started the downfall of this venue, with the city of Detroit running out of money and ideas to keep the stadium operational. It was eventually auctioned off and renovated by the new owners, but under extreme snow, its roof collapsed, and the stadium was shut down for good in 2013. 10. Astro World. Astro World was a seasonally operated theme park initially owned by former Houston Mayor Roy Hofheinz. It opened in 1968, but 10 years later it was sold to a company named Six Flags. Under Six Flags, the park was successful and the wooden roller coaster rides and river raid rides were added through the expansion. However, due to increasing property value and declining public interest in 2005, a decision was made to close the theme park permanently. In 2006, Six Flags Astro World hosted its last event, after which all of the rides were either auctioned off or moved to other Six Flags locations. 11. EJ Corvette. Corvette was a department store that provided discounts on items such as luggage and appliances, at a time when discounting was outlawed under the anti-discounting statutes. The brand saw rapid growth in its popularity because of innovative techniques used by the owners. They introduced membership programs that were not used in department stores at the time. The Corvette's decline started when they started focusing heavily on areas like fashion and home furnishing, which they had no expertise in. They also lacked the right atmosphere for such products and services. In 1979, a French company bought the chain and closed all of the non-profitable branches, but by 1980, they declared bankruptcy and shut down all of the remaining branches as well. 12. Sambo's. Sambo's was one of the food chains in the 1970s that experienced immense success. With over 1,117 outlets in 47 states, Sambo's used its connection to the story of Little Black Sambo and used the imagery from the book in its decor. However, in the late 1970s, the company was pressured into changing its name due to protests suggesting the offensive nature of its name. This coincided with its failed fraction of the action policy, which gave 20% of the profits to the managers and allowed the employees to bid for a percentage of the profit as well. In 1981, the company filed for bankruptcy, and within the next 3 or 4 years, most of its branches were either sold or changed their names. 13. The Playboy Club. You're likely familiar with the Playboy brand, But did you know that they used to have physical locations that served as nightclubs and resorts? Guests were served drinks and food by Playboy bunnies, some of which were featured in the latest Playboy magazines. You could even get an occasional tableside magician and watch a comedy show as well. However, the clubs became defunct in 1991 and all of the local and international locations were closed. In the 2010s, clubs were reopened in Las Vegas and Macau, but after a few years of operations, they were shut down again. 14. Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor. Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor opened in 1963, but gained popularity in 1975 under the ownership of the Marriott Corporation. The parlor was famous for its early 1900s theme and offered free ice cream sundaes for children on their birthdays. As the sales dropped in the 1980s, most locations were closed. Marriott Corporation sold the chain to private investors, but in 1990, all of the Farrell's locations were permanently closed. In the 2000s, some of the chains operated independently, but the chain has now become defunct since its closure in its last location in 2019. 15. The Kahiki Supper Club. In 1961, tiki culture was at its peak, and thus, the Kahiki Supper Club was created. At the time of its opening, this was the only Polynesian-themed restaurant in Ohio. To this day, Kahiki is considered the most elaborate tiki-themed restaurant ever built. This once famous restaurant became a victim of rising maintenance costs and reduced sales. Thus, the last branch was closed in 2000. However, the restaurant was listed in the National Register of Historic Places, and the salvaged silverware and interior were added to the collection of the Fraternal Order of Moai. Time moves on, and places that were once loved and filled with people fade into history. Some failed because of their financial struggles, while others didn't adapt to the changing social landscapes. But each of them provided joy and lots of memories to people during their heyday. Did you know about any of these places? Is there any place on our list that you wish you could have visited? Let us know in the comment section below. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.